That's all right, I'm going to mute you anyway. Hopefully we are live. At this point, there should be spooky music, a spooky background, which I nearly had with my green screen, but it just didn't work tonight. So this is a brand new GHOSTCAST segment. We will be continuing our GHOSTCAST interviews and episodes, but this one, it's going to be visiting an unusual story each week. So every Tuesday, it's only going to be a short segment. We're going to look at ghost stories, and it doesn't have to be just ghosts. We're just going to look at unusual stories. This is not about proving the paranormal. This is not about anything else. This is just like you would sit around a campfire and tell a ghostly story. And eventually I'll get a campfire type back screen and look really, really creepy. But this was something that I put together today. So I'm going to start it. Who knows where this segment will go? All right, it'll either continue or it won't. But I will say, if you lot have any ghost stories, we'd love to hear them. Just PM them to me, and maybe we can get you on here. The whole idea is to interview you, the normal, everyday people. We're all normal. But if you've had experiences, to get you on here and let you tell your own story and your own experience. So if you're not happy with doing that, send it to us and we'll read it out. But here's the first one. So is this where I get creepy and I drop my voice? Because the first story I'm going to talk about takes part in Newcastle upon Tyne and a small village called Spittle Tongues. Quick history behind Spittle Tongues, because it's a bit of a weird name. Spittle was a bastardized version of hospital. Tongues was a bit of land that stuck out. And Spittle Tongues was a place that was given to the local hospitals. It was also a mining village. Now, in the 1950s, a newly married couple bought their very first house. They were very excited. They were off on their honeymoon. And during their honeymoon, their parents decided to surprise them and decided that they would decorate their new home. And when they got back, strange things had already been happening. The grandparents found that the house, the paint, had been strewn around the room. Lids had been taken off the paint pots every time they went in to investigate, or to paint and to decorate, should I say. Investigate? Investigator here. And it got stranger because as my parents, which it was my parents, lived in this house for a bit longer, they then had their children. And it was their children that suffered. My parents knew that there was something very unusual about this house. Not only had they heard from their own parents about what had been happening, but they had felt things themselves. In fact, my mother had woken during the night to find a figure standing at the foot of her bed, a very strange figure of a man. What really stuck out in her head was the fact that the eyes, she saw his eyes, and the eyes were protruding from the head. Now, she went next door soon after. She was chatting to the neighbour and she said, I've had this very strange experience. I woke up to find a man at the foot of the bed. And that's when my neighbour filled her in a little bit. His name was Dr. Miller. Dr. Miller had been at a New Year's Eve party at a pub. He'd obviously been drinking New Year's Eve, and somehow he had ended up over a wall. It was debatable whether he had been mugged and attacked and had severe head injuries, or whether he had just been so drunk he'd fallen over the wall and knocked his head. But he never really recovered. He was taken to hospital. He never recovered, and he did pass away in the hospital. The thing about Dr. Miller, his eyes protruded. As soon as they heard that description, they got a photograph of him and showed it to my mother. He had a problem. I've forgotten what you call it, but there's a medical problem that actually does make your eyes protrude slightly. Marty Feldman, the comedian, had it. and a few other actors. So this was very, very, she said she saw the photograph and she knew immediately it was him. Turned out his wife sold the house because she couldn't cope with the house anymore. Because when she was down around the house, somebody would try and put their arms around him or her, and she would freak out. Even though she knew it was probably her own husband, it was just something she couldn't bear. She didn't sleep upstairs, she slept downstairs in the lounge. The kids had a terrible, terrible time of it. My oldest sister and my second oldest sister, who were about 10 years between us, my oldest one was seeing disembodied eyes. Again, it goes back to the eyes in the corner of her bedroom. These disembodied eyes would travel across the room and then dip and go under the bed. The eyes were always a big thing. My other sister, Jennifer, she can't have the old style wardrobes in her bedroom anymore or in her house at all, because he would play with the wardrobe door, just opening and shutting, opening and shutting. They shared a bedroom. Jennifer, my second sister, would wake up and sometimes look at a glow that was sitting over my older sister, especially on New Year's Eve. They would also hear bagpipes, and it was very strange lighting on New Year's Eve as well. So my oldest memory was before I was 4 years old, so when I was about 2 years old. My oldest memory, my earliest memory, would be sitting in a cot. Now, I was calling for my parents. I must have been about just under 2 years old, so I was crying and calling for my parents who were not there. Instead, what I could hear was the raspy breath of a man. Now, my sisters backed this up years later that they used to hear it too, and they also used to hear what sounded like a heartbeat as well. My second oldest memory as a child was me creeping into my brother's bedroom because he always had the cool toys. He was about 7 years older. In the days of Doctor Who, you had the wind-up Daleks and the wind-up toys, and I remember I used to love sneaking in and doing those, playing with them. I remember sitting in that room, and suddenly the toys, just like the horror movies, the toys just started up around me, and the Daleks started going across the floor. Terrifying for a young child, a 4-year-old, who had been watching Doctor Who like that from behind the sofa. That house held so much dread for me as a child that when we moved a few years later down to another house, which was just down the road, I was still sleeping with the lights on. My sisters had to stay with me in the bedroom. They hated me because as a child, I could not stay in the bedroom until I was asleep on my own. When my husband first met me in my 20s, I was still sleeping with my bedroom lights on. It terrified that child so much. And I'm sure there's a lot of memories that I can't remember. The fear of that house was so great. My friend, my childhood friend, lived just 2 doors, the ghost in the background there, lived just 2 doors down from me, or where I used to live. I would go all the way around the block to get to her house rather than just up the back lane, which was a shorter route, because that would take me past the house that I was so terrified of. So this is what got me into the paranormal. This was like a moth to the flame. It terrified me. It left me with a deep fear of the dark. However, when I came to Australia, I started investigating. The more I investigated, I realized it's not always as scary as that, and the fear subsided. But this house is still there. It's a boring looking house. It's just your normal everyday terraced house. So I will show it to you, and I'll bring it up actually bigger for you. There you go. If you saw that house, if you walked past that house, you would not for 1 minute give it a second glance. But that house was the number one most terrifying house that I have ever lived in. I have been to houses that should be scarier, but none of them matched this house. That's the backside of it. Even if I had to walk up this lane, I could not look at these windows because I was always terrified of what would be looking back out of these windows at me. And I had a fear of windows for a long time, which also made me wonder what happened that made me so afraid of these windows. It was a real phobia. In fact, even at 28, I tried to walk past this house and I still couldn't walk past it. It held that much terror for me. So there you go. Do not think that all haunted houses look creepy and spooky, because some haunted houses are your normal everyday house. You walk past them, you will never know the difference. But for some reason, something in it is just different. So, all right, so that's probably a terrible thing. I'm going to bring Cag on. This is a new segment, by the way. So let me just go to here. There she is. All right. What I want to do, how I want to do this in the future. And by the way, my house where I went, this is all Newcastle upon Tyne. That was a scary house. We then moved into this house here, which was actually next to a pub. Now, that was just around the back of the house I was terrified of. So I better unmute. Are you on, Cag?
Yeah, I've just unmuted myself.
Have you? Didn't know you were allowed to unmute yourself. So what I thought we'd do is we'll start off with my story. And that was my story, very badly told, by the way, because this is all ad lib. This is all a new segment that I just decided to do. I really want to get into you lot, and I want to find our way on how to do it. So whether you just want me sitting there in a creepy location, just telling you a creepy story, or just getting down to it and telling you the story. Any comments on how you'd like to see this? But I do want to pick just one or two little things and then open it up to chatting. Okay, I'm going to go back. Cag, so you have been to this house, haven't you?
Yes, we actually went there. One time we went to Newcastle. We've been to Newcastle a couple of times, haven't we?
We have. We have. I finally took her to my house. Come and see my old house. Come and see where it all started. So,
and it was really strange, wasn't it? Because we turned up in a rental car, which obviously we would have in the UK. Yeah. We were stood there in Haunted Horizons t-shirts, and all these people just kept stopping and looking at us. And in the end, somebody stopped us and said, "Are you doing tours here?" I was like, "No."
She did. Yeah. No, we're not doing tours. That's all right. We're just here looking at the house I used to live in. So, but it was very weird. And actually, she's passed away now, so I can probably say Dr. Miller, who owned the house. He was a doctor, but he actually had an actress as a daughter. So she was born in London, and then they moved up to Newcastle upon Tyne, and she got into the theatre. Her name was Barbara Miller. Some people might know her as the wise woman in the Blackadder series. So in the second season, I think she was in a couple of other episodes of other characters as well. But in the second season of the Blackadder, he goes to see the wise woman, and that's actually Barbara Miller. So there you go. It was her father that owned the house. So, and hello everybody, by the way. We've got Shane, Debbie from Queensland. Hello, how's it going up in Queensland at the moment?
We've got some Julie. People from the UK as well.
Oh wow, excellent.
Yeah, we've got Linda. We've got Linda from the UK, and also I need to find
Tashi. I'm just going to say hello to some people because we are getting into relax now.
Everybody. A lot of people have got saying Daleks are scary. Yes, they so.
Can you imagine that as the 4-year-old? The Cybermen were scarier, but yeah.
Oh, and Diane. Diane is from the UK as well.
Oh,
so
Diane,
thank you, guys.
No, you're on it. Newcastle, England. Yes, that's where I am from. I am born and bred. Spittletongues. I'm not going to say which house it is, because obviously I had recently looked at the house. After we sold it, I think it went to the council bought it. And, every other house council has sold back to the public, but not this one. This house doesn't. I keep an eye on it, keep looking for it to be on the market, but it just doesn't come up. In fact, it doesn't come up with the worth or anything else. So
it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Because we have been to supposedly very haunted houses, and we've had absolutely nothing happen, which we know can be the case. It'd be fascinating to get into that building.
I would love to get in, and it took me. Marie asks, I'm just going to answer some questions on this, and everybody's going hello, and hello everybody. Hello. If I haven't said hello to you personally, I've just been going through your comments. Marie asked, did your parents realise? Yes. Yes. But the thing is with my parents, and I will say this, they didn't put it into our head. All right. Every time the kids said, we've just had this terrifying experience, my parents actually played it down. They were not scared of this house. They knew who it was. They weren't scared of it. They would play it down. Oh, that fire, that look of fire and stuff in the corner of the room, that's just his street light and the tree in front of it. We didn't have a tree in front of it, but there you go. But that was just a street light. Oh, you're probably dreaming. You're dreaming all this stuff. They never, ever once put it into my head. I didn't even know this house was haunted until I was 18 years old. Long moved. I'd moved to Sheffield by then. And I used to babysit for my sister. And we were sitting around the table one day with my sister. And I said, you know that house that I was born into? Because I was actually born into the house. I said, do you remember that? And did you have any weird experiences? And that's when it came up. Until we moved out that house, my parents never owned up to that house being haunted, ever. Now, my father did later on. As I said, once we were grown up, well away from it, my dad and my mum, they talked about it then. I do have a whole thing on this house where I've interviewed my sisters. It's a write-up, so I'll get that probably put up at some point. I'll show you the room I was born into. I believe, whoops, let me get back to the photo. You see, this house looks very different to what it looked like when I lived there, by the way. I'll put it back in again.
I didn't actually understand how much this affected Alison until we went to the Velisca house. The Velisca axe murderer's house.
Oh, yes.
Now, that was just an ordinary, tiny little house. And you had a bit of an issue with that place, didn't you? I had
a major issue with the Velisca axe murder house in America. We had nothing happen, which is the way of it sometimes. I was frozen. I was absolutely frozen at the Velisca axe murder house. I think because it was a house, it was everything that was deep rooted in the fear that I had came barreling back. And I think we got upstairs at the end, didn't we, Kag? But
yes,
that was about it.
It was a lot of convincing, because I think it just brought you back to being a child.
Yeah, it did, and it is very deep-rooted fear, guys. For me to do a lot of what we're doing now, that's years and years of getting used to this stuff again. This house, by the way, used to have out here like a little greenhouse, and we used to have things moving. So my mum would go out to do something, but it had moved, and we'd find it in a totally different room in the house. I don't think he was bad. I know he wasn't bad. He was a lovely man. He was just a normal person, but I don't think, to be honest, he understood what had happened, because he was still alive when he was taken to hospital, but he never regained consciousness. So I guess he just went home, couldn't understand why his wife was so terrified, I guess, why those strange people living in his room, in his house, that wasn't his family. And I think that's what it was about. I think there's a lot of confusion with him. So Let me just throw something at my cat because she's clawing at my...
But it's interesting how something like that as a child can really affect you even now, well into your adulthood.
Yeah. See, all along here used to be a veranda as well. So this has all changed since we lived in it. Now, I did kids free. Oh, does it? Oh, sorry about that, Andrea. It might also be my connection, guys, because remember, I'm going to bring this up. Remember, with my connection, I am on ADSL dinosaur speed for all you who have lovely fast speeds. All right, NBN. The next one down from me is 56K dial-up. So I am on, I think, on upload speed, about 1 megabit per second. So I may cut out every now and again. So yeah, I think, David, the reason my parents didn't tell us because they didn't want to scare the kids. So I guess it's like if we had kids, you want to play that fear down a little bit. It was upstairs. The worst was upstairs. My brother, I've got a brother, 2 sisters. They used to draw the short straw to see who had to get upstairs to go and get the hot water bottles, because none of them liked to go upstairs. It was a scary house. It was a scary house. So, okay, Barbara lived in a funeral parlour until I was freaked out one day when I ran down the corridor leading into the parlour and screamed when I saw, oh, yeah, I don't know about seeing a dead body at a young child. And sort of figure up in the sky, all white, wearing something like a sheet around him. Freak the hell out. Really? Really? Okay, you have to tell me about that. Looks fine. Excellent. Get a dongle, Jenny. We have tried everything. I live so far out in the country.
Yeah, she does.
Hopefully next month, guys, May, I've been told I will get fixed wireless NBN. CAGLAS, because it does have a little clause in that. And that is my speed will be great unless a tree gets in the way. I live in the country. There are lots of trees between me and that tower. So, but hopefully it'll speed it up a little bit for you guys. So there you go. So what we're going to do, any questions on my house, any other house as well, because like there was a scarier house than that. I didn't live in it. My sister did. The paranormal just freaked me out, something terrible, but I just couldn't stop looking for it. And as a kid, I just kept looking for it as well. It was EVP, going to old locations, things like that. I just couldn't help myself. So I just got drawn to it. Ouija board. Yes, I did all that as a teenager as well, even in my next door neighbour's house. So when I got to Sheffield. So any questions, Kate? You're supposed to be interviewing me on this.
I was just so it was interesting seeing that house because it looks like you say an everyday an estate, doesn't it? It looks like an everyday house in England, and that's all it is to it. It's very much like when we did 30 East Drive, the Pontefract house, the monk house, in Pontefract in the north of England as well. That is an everyday house, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is supposed to be really, really haunted, but it was interesting to see it. Talking to you and knowing what has happened to you. So to me, that was actually fascinating.
Another house I'd really like to get back to, guys. One of my sisters moved into a house in Sheffield, which again was a very boring terraced house, a bit like that. You wouldn't have thought anything of it. And as I said, when I was 18, I used to she already had kids by then because there's a big age gap between us. And I used to babysit. Now, what it was 2 rooms. You had your kitchen and lounge on one side, and then little hallway kitchen and dining on one side, little hallway, and then into the lounge on the other side. The television was upstairs. So you go up the staircase, and then the kids' bedrooms were on one side of the little hallway, and my sister's was on the other side of the hallway. And because the TV was in my sister's bedroom, I would spend most of the time in my sister's bedroom with the sliding door. And I remember being in that bedroom going, God, I hope these kids don't wake up. Because I was absolutely terrified of the little hallway. at the top of the stairs. And again, there should be no reason for it at all. It was just a terraced house. But I didn't like looking up the stairs. I used to walk past the stairs with my head down to get to the lounge. If I was already up there, I'd just pray the kids didn't wake up. And it wasn't until my sister moved into another house close by. And that house, you would have looked at it and gone, my God, that's a haunted house. But that house didn't bother me at all. I could go down in the cellar, up into the attic. But this boring terraced house. And then talking to my sister, again, years later, she said, yeah, there was something not evil, but something extremely unpleasant about that second house, that one that I didn't like. She said she was in the lounge and suddenly a blackness. She'd wake up in the lounge and there'd be this black stuff around her. She hated the top of the stairs as well. The kids would wake up. In fact, my nephew woke up and looked to my sister at the doorway and said, "Who's the man with you?" And my sister lived on it. She was divorced by then, and there was no man in the house. And he swore blind. He was about 8, I think, at the time. Just looked beyond her to the doorway and said, "Who's the man that you brought with you in the doorway there?" It's amazing. You can't tell a place is haunted just by the look of what these places look like, because you can walk past these houses and not know there's something in them. So,
people want to know what age you were when you left the first house. When you moved to Sheffield.
I was about 4. I didn't move to Sheffield until I was about 10, I reckon. When I moved to Sheffield, down to Sheffield, my dad got a new job. It literally, the house we moved to when I was 4 years old, literally, we call them back lanes. Cag would know, being English. Anybody who's English on here would know back lanes. So it's a kind of a lane roadway that goes down behind houses, and there's no pavements or anything. And so we moved literally just down the road. So we weren't that far away. We were literally probably 1 minute, 30 seconds walk away from this house, but down the back lane, because we needed a bigger house. Family was growing. I was obviously come along and I was growing. So we needed more bedrooms and more privacy for the kids. So, but yeah, that was at 4 years old. Now, they never told me. But I was terrified. I could not walk for years and years and years. I could not walk up the back lane past that house. Couldn't do it. Had to go the long way around. Would not walk past that house. And everybody told me it was my imagination until they admitted it later. So, but
there's lots of people saying that they've experienced haunted houses, either living them or visiting them.
Yeah, it's what got me into investigation. When I got into investigating, it wasn't to prove that what I experienced was paranormal. I was quite happy when I got into investigating, although I was starry-eyed like everybody. I was quite happy to look at what caused it, whether it was natural, whether it was all in family heads, But I haven't found that really. Yep, my earliest memory, Abby, would be about 2, maybe, which is the heavy breathing that I was hearing in the room. Only 2 memories from that house. That's it. Oh, 3. I remember being out the front of the house, but it's not a paranormal memory. I literally have only 2 memories of that house. The Daleks starting up across the bedroom and the heavy, raspy male breathing. And I still suspect that something more major happened, because the terror of that house was so extreme that as a young child, I probably don't remember it. I've tried hypnosis. I'm one of those people that I'm not suggestive, which is good for investigating, but it's not good if you want to be put under. Nobody yet has ever been able to put me under hypnosis. If there's anybody out there that thinks that they would like the challenge, here I am. All right, because nobody's got me under yet. So, and I'd love to be regressed back to that and see what else happened in that house, because somewhere deep in here, for the fear that I had of that house, it wasn't just raspy breathing, and it wasn't just Daleks starting up across the floor. All right, there has to have been something else.
I agree. Totally agree with that one. Somebody
Yes,
saying
I
is
can
that
see, Kerry, I should be able to see both comments. This one will allow both comments. I can see it'll either have a symbol, because somebody's asking, can you see both YouTube and Facebook comments? I haven't seen any YouTube comments there, I will say.
I have seen, because the YouTube has got the red ones. So Snoopy.
Yeah.
The stories that come out of the Monkhouse. Yeah. The stories that come out of Monkhouse, are they true? We cannot say, because when we went, we had nothing happen.
We had nothing happen. Oh, we did, Keg, we did.
Oh, sorry, we did.
At the beginning. The stupid thing is, it wasn't during the investigation. We had absolutely nothing.
No.
It was when we were talking to the neighbour. So I know the neighbour's been accused of banging the walls. I've seen it all online. She was actually with us, and we were down in the lounge. She was telling us some of the things. She's actually really friendly.
Lovely. She's so funny.
She came in. Yeah, she'd plenty to share. But while we were in there upstairs, we could hear boom, 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 like this going on upstairs, just in the bedroom above us. And it's like, okay.
She was out. She was like, we're going. Okay.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, so that's about the only thing we had happen. I'd love it, but we were with the tour group and or an investigation group. They were good. But it means that we had quite a big house full of people. I'd like to get back there, just us, at some point.
Yeah.
Julie, had many things happen while growing up. If I've missed comments, I do apologise. Okay. Well, all you people who are saying, oh, Andrea, oh, okay, Andrea lived in Finchley for 2 years. Yeah, the Beck Lanes, yes. I still remember Rag and Bone Men coming down those back lanes. Kat, can you remember those?
Yes, but I didn't live on a house with a back lane.
Didn't you? I lived in the northeast. So I remember the Rag and Bone Man. I used to love the horse. That he used to come down the lane ringing his bell.
I can remember him. Rag and Bones. Rag and Bones.
Rag and Bone. If any of you, Lisa, thank you. It wasn't the way I wanted to tell it. Because it's such a new segment, I only thought it up at lunchtime. And I've been working out how do I do this? I mean, I want your comments as well. Do you want me to sit? One of my thoughts was for a paranormal tales to sit maybe with a candle, a bit spooky, and actually relate a story in a story type story kind of thing. Does that make sense? Or whether you want me to tell you a story, or you want us to visit an unusual tale so we can all chat about it and talk about similar things as well. So give me your thoughts, guys. All right, GHOSTCAST, Paranormal Tales. How do you want it to evolve? Or do you not want it to evolve at all? I'm just kind of happy just to chat all things paranormal. It can be cryptids. Paranormal can cover a lot of bases. Weird things in England, weird tales, superstitions. And then we can have a little chat about it afterwards. So I can come on and tell you the weird tale of superstition, okay, and then we can kind of visit it and chat about it. What do you reckon, guys? You tell me what you want. We are putty in your hands.
We are.
We're just trying to fill in your time while you're sitting at home. And, of course, we've got nothing better to do. So we're thinking of all these new things. Or I could pre-film it, pre-record it and put it up, and it'll be perfect. Not like the story I told tonight.
That's not so much fun. Yeah. Julie just wants to know, curious question, do you think there's a connection to astral projection and shadow ghosts, or is it possibility that is residual from the living? Haven't got a clue, really. It depends on each.
I'd like to kind of answer that, because the only ones that I've ever seen, I'll come on with another ghost story, actually, which is untrue. It's not the only ones, but that's for another week. The only ones that I've ever seen have been solid shadow figures. And I don't see things very often, I will say that. 30-odd years, probably about 15 times. All of them, bar one, has been a dark, shadowy figure. I don't feel that shadow figures are evil. I think it's just sometimes the way we perceive them. And I think sometimes it's also how they manifest as well. So I don't think there's any one answer. I think sometimes it can be residual. I think sometimes it can be intelligent. I think we are making a huge mistake trying to clump it into one box. Like all shadow figures must be residual. All shadow figures must be a ghost. All shadow figures must be, I don't know, things from a future time or past. I think there's so many unanswered questions, and I think there's so many aspects to it. So to give you any one, I don't think we're there yet where we can. That's my personal thoughts. Doesn't mean it's right or wrong. So, all right.
Some great ideas here.
Is that beautiful? Because I'm going to go. If I've missed your comments, guys, I will go back and answer them when we come off.
Oh, has Australia... Oh, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
well, I'm not sorry, really.
Jump in.
But there's a good one here. Has Australia got skinwalkers?
Ooh, now, not in the term skinwalkers, I don't think. I guess Aboriginal people would have their own legends on that. It certainly wouldn't be like the Native American skinwalker, like Skinwalker Ranch. I must admit, I have been called out to cases. Remember, I used to research long before Haunted Horizons. I did my time with research. Haunted Horizons was more my relax and just enjoy it for what it is. I did get called out on cases that would be very related to Aboriginal people. I think we've been out on a case as well, haven't we, Cag? We got actually invited out. Me, Craig, and you. We won't say where it is.
No.
I tend to respect that religion. I tend to leave those ones alone because I think if there is spirits and stuff like that that belong to that belief in Aboriginal people, I like to leave it for elders and them to sort it out. Because yeah, it's a little bit different from Native American culture, I guess, in that way. Is it the Karachi man? I'm not sure on the spelling. Yeah, they would have a very similar thing. They would have a very similar belief. It wouldn't be termed the skinwalkers like you would have in America, though. Hopefully I get out a skinwalker one day. I'd love to.
Oh, how cool would that be? So
and to follow on that, all right, Kirsty says about skinwalkers. The skinwalkers were not the Apache, oh my God, he calls me on the hop here. The Apache, what's the other tribe?
Navajo? No?
Navajo, yes. All right.
Yay!
There you go. It's in Utah. The Skinwalker Ranch is in that Utah, that basin through there. And apparently a tribe was fighting with another tribe and took over. And I think it was the Navajo, and I'll probably get corrected, put a curse on the land because it got taken over. And the Skinwalker is able to change. It's like a spirit, a trickster, an evil one that can take on different forms, animals, things like that. So there is a series out at the moment called Skinwalker Ranch that is on the Travel Channel. I watched the first episode the other day. I haven't been able to watch any more. It's not bad. It's not bad. And I would imagine Foxtel will get it eventually. It's worth a look. It's definitely Apache and Navajo. Yeah. I think this one was more the Navajo. There is another tribe as well, not the Apache. Navajo were fighting with another tribe, and it's just off. Yeah, well, you see, I was more of the Plains Indians, Brie. I was more interested in the Cheyenne and the Sioux, so I never really looked at the Apache and Navajos. So,
Barb is asking to describe a shadow figure, but they can come in all different.
Oh, okay. Well, I can only describe the ones I've seen, Barb, and that would be solid. No definition to it. You know it's human. You know it's human shaped, but there's no definition. My guide, Will, who I had, he actually caught a section of it in his torchlight, and he said it stepped out of the building. It caught the edge of his torch, and he said it should have cast shadow and light on any legs, clothing, anything like that. He said it was just solid black. there was no play of light on the leg or the foot when it crossed through the edge of his beam of his torch. So he's seen it as well. That's at Tailem Town. Just black, but I've seen it several times, and I don't get the, people say, like, I think if there's any people from America, please correct me, but a lot of Americans seem to think that they're demons and evil, and if they're black and they're shadowy, then it has to be bad. I haven't found that. I really haven't. In fact, I saw one in a house that was dilapidated. It's in South Australia. I'm not going to tell you where it is. And it had been badly vandalized, and I found some history, a really weird story, long story, guys. Found some history on the place, found the grave where the person, and I really wanted to help, and I got an EVP that said, please help me. And I was sitting there during the day in this house, and I actually saw a dark, shadowy figure forming, and I actually saw it moving across the back wall and across the room. It did not feel bad at all. All right. It was, I think it's just, I don't know whether it's what we perceive or what, I don't know, but it didn't feel bad at all. So, but it's always solid for me. So.
Yeah, so Bree and Abby, yes, we know you. Bless you. We know you're related back to those. That's fascinating. What we need to do is have a conversation with you two guys one day.
The one I've had a few years back, a couple of minutes talking. There's some great little stories here from you guys. Love hearing them.
Yeah.
So,
shadow figures are often part of sleep paralysis. They can be, unless you are wide awake and you're investigating and one walks through.
Right, and investigating.
But it's true, they can be.
It's true. And my oldest sister actually suffers from sleep paralysis. It used to freak her out until I explained to her what sleep paralysis. She lived for years with sleep paralysis. And then I explained to her, but she felt the same thing, that weight, that inability to move, and could feel a presence in the room with her. This is very typical of sleep paralysis, guys. And a figure, sometimes people see figures in the room with them. This is very common. Sleep paralysis, for those who don't know, it's like, it's a trigger in your brain. There's a trigger that stops you acting your dreams out. Because if you're dreaming, and you're dreaming that you're running around and stuff like that, your brain cuts that off from your body, so your body can't reenact that while your brain's thinking about it. So sometimes what happens is you come back into consciousness, but that trigger hasn't snapped off yet. So your body is still paralyzed because that part of your brain is keeping it that way. You can't move, and it's a very panicky feeling. And yes, that is quite common. So
not
yeah,
pleasant.
look, my sister was a lot happier once she knew there was an explanation for it. Yeah, look, sleep paralysis can have that. I wished we did. David asks, Alison, what are ghosts and shadow persons made of? I have no idea, David. I don't think anybody knows exactly what it's made of. If it did, it would make... This is why if ghosts exist, and I'm going to say if, and if not in our heads, because I try and keep a rational view on this. Until we know what ghost is, until we know what it's made of, until we know how it interacts with our environment, how can we ever invent the right equipment to measure what a ghost is or to interact with a ghost? We're really feeling around in the dark, literally.
Yeah.
So, until we know what it's made up of, we need that to know what we're dealing with and how to measure and how to interact. So I don't think we'll ever know all the time.
No, I don't. Tarina says she has many ghost experiences in zoos.
Trina, I remember. There's one zoo I'd like to get in with you, Trina. Love to hear some more stories on that one. So, all
right.
I have had sleep paralysis quite a few times. Yeah, look, it's can feel something very evil, but can't move to see. It's terrifying, Kirsty. My sister used to be terrified. She could feel the same thing. Yeah, it cuts you out. It's why you don't kill your partner, as your husband as well, probably when you're in bed.
Yeah.
Shane, energy, just a different vibration. Possibly and probably I'm talking about more having scientific, I don't know, without being scientific fact on what a ghost is made of, to make what we can to measure a ghost and energy, and what sort of energy. Why can it walk through solid objects? When you start looking at particles and stuff like that, it becomes really a lot more fascinating. So in fact, you should get into a talk with Craig with it. Saw a shadow person while their legs at lot 14. Oh yeah, I remember. Yes, gosh, I wish I was back in lot 14.
We had a lot of people reporting seeing shadow figures in lot 14. In fact, remember that time we were wandering around working out where the tour should go, looking for a safe route, and I swore blind that we were at one end of the corridor, and I thought I saw a security guard going through the other door, but there wasn't any security guard there.
Yeah, and definitely in emergency we were seeing a lot.
Oh yes.
Yes, Trina, I know. I have been trying, Trina, but I think coronavirus has kind of put paid to anything at the moment. 2 photos of floating orbs, something out there. Quantum physics makes sense in all of this. Let's hope quantum physics will kind of get closer to. Oh, you worked there too, small world. I was around. Keep her in there for 2 years, Bunny. Okay, well there you go. I'd like to talk to you as well. I don't think we have a World Cherokee. My mum's a house full of history. Yeah.
Somebody just said, have we been touched?
Have we been touched?
No. I can honestly say no.
I remember the one I've just put up at, where was it? Jebra. Where I actually felt like pressure on my shoulders, and then it felt like somebody tried to pull the torch out of my hand.
Right.
And that freaked me out a little bit. Yeah, physically being touched, scratched. I'd love to be scratched and touched, and that sounds so bad, doesn't it? I'd like to be touched. It's a gag.
Have we ever heard a demonic laugh?
No. I've heard disembodied male voices. Oh, do you remember, again, getting back to Jebra, that male voice we heard when we went up into that section we didn't like, and we heard the male voice reverberating around the block, and we thought it was Elliot, but Elliot was in the room.
Oh, yes.
And it
was, I remember that one.
And that put us on edge straight away. That sounded pretty guttural, yeah. Actually, nice. I do lie, though, not hearing it with I must put up all my old EVPs, by the way. I did have an EVP from Kapunda. And I will say that I was in the car with one of my investigators, and we suddenly felt like something very angry was standing right next to us at the door. I hadn't said anything to her. She was feeling it as well. I didn't want to look at my driver's door. And again, it goes back to that fear of looking at a window and seeing what's looking back at you. And when we listened back to the audio, we're laughing because we didn't want to get out of the car. And we have a male guttural voice coming over the top of us saying, "Sinners," like that. If I'd heard that at the time, I would have been out there so quick. But I didn't. So we might talk about the full story of that on another episode.
That would be pretty cool, actually, because that is as creepy as.
I might play it as well on another episode. So this can keep going for as long as you guys want me to come on and we talk ghost stories. And now, all these ghost stories that you're coming out with, is anybody happy to come on and talk so that we have you on here? We can have a couple of people on a night. We can put you on as long as you're happy to come on and talk. I can give you the link. We can put you on, turn you off, get another person on, and then we can all ask you questions about it. And you can fill us in a little bit more than just typing.
We've also got, what do we think of cold spots?
Yeah.
We have one.
We have hot spots as well, though. I don't think it's a temperature change. It doesn't seem to be just cold. Remember, again, we were at Margam Castle, and I was shivering. I felt like
you were absolutely.
And yet the temperature was about 21, 22 degrees. It was a warm night, and I was literally, my teeth were chattering suddenly. It was so cold around me.
Yeah, we do have a cold spot at the NRM as well.
Yeah.
Kirsty has been stuck in her room with both doors wouldn't budge for about 3 minutes. I had the same thing happen to me. In fact, myself and the security guard at Adelaide Arcade in the storeroom, which is now part of our tour.
And now your security guard won't shut doors. We can go forever with these. Do you guys like the EDI? Any equipment on its own going off? EDI has its place, definitely. EDI can indicate that there's changes, obviously, in the environment. There are lots, like with all the equipment, there are a lot of false positives you can get with EDI. EDI is probably the more reliable of all of them, though. I like it when we're having things happening, or when you're asking and you seem to be getting a response, and you can, like, sometimes we'll set a certain amount of flashes for yes, certain amount of flashes for no, and then we ask questions that only whatever's there would know, so we kind of gauge it, whether it's real or not. I don't know, EDI I quite like, but just remember, like any equipment, there are false positives with it. So
also, somebody's talking about, can animals come through as ghosts, spirits? Yes, they can.
Well, that's a broad statement there, Cag.
Well,
yes, they can.
Well, no, it's just how many
believe that yes, they can.
Well, yes. Well, not all of them. I wonder why it's not all of them.
Can you actually say? I'm always very careful. Sorry about having a little glass of wine. It's evening.
I'm just going on.
Let's hold the animals. Can we hold the animal ones? Because I reckon we do. How about we do the next Ghost Tales
on animals?
Except call it TAIL. Yes, Ghost Tales.
Oh,
what about we do the next Ghost Tales next week on animals?
Cool.
I will come on with another ghost story, and I will talk about a ghost animal. And then if anybody wants to join in with their stories on ghost animals, all right, let me know, because all I have to do is give you a link and we can put you into little boxes like this. All right, we can add you, and then you can tell us all about your ghost story. This little segment is for you guys. I don't want to be doing all the talking. Cag doesn't want to be doing all the talking. All right. Oh, Jill, that would be good. Jenny, we used to take my dog on my, unfortunately she's passed away now, but I used to take her on investigations. Sometimes though, again, dogs and animals, you know, people go, oh my God, the dog's looking at a corner, it must be a ghost. And I'm going to get into the rational, all right, is that dogs have an enormously better hearing than us, and also higher wearing of senses. So if a dog's looking intently at some area, sometimes it's listening intently to what it's hearing in the distance. It might be a dog barking over there that you can't hear. It might be a siren that suddenly got its attention that you can't hear. Can you definitively say that what the dog is seeing is a ghost? It's hard. And to me, I like to be sure of things. I need, in my own mind, to be sure that, yeah, weird things go. If the equipment's going off and the dog's reacting to something, then I'm going to be a lot more interested, because not only is the dog reacting to something that we can't see, but we've now got other stuff that's unusual happening around us as well. Does that make sense? It's not that I don't believe that dogs can't. My dog, by the way, I used to take her in the Adelaide jail all the time. She would react. This is what I mean about dogs. She would react. She'd suddenly like freeze, and she'd stare at the door, and we'd all go, oh my God, she's seen something. and then one of the jail cats would walk past. It's like, bugger. But if you didn't see the cat walk past, how do you know? You know, because you can't see what the dog's reacting to. Does that make sense? We can't just say they're reacting to a ghost. If I hadn't seen that cat, I would have gone, oh my God, she's reacting to something unseen. But it just so happened the cat walked past at the other end of the hallway outside. And I just happened to see it. So I think we have to be careful sometimes.
Philip, I got the headphones from a gaming shop. So one of the
because I complained because she
couldn't hear me. Maggie, Sam at the Adelaide Arcade.
Jenny, if a dog refuses to go in a place, yes, that's a little more interesting. I agree. So
that's happened at Zedward as well, hasn't it, with the security guards?
Yeah. The police dog didn't want to go in. Yeah. All right. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
Yeah, Sam at the Adelaide Arcade. We haven't got a Sam at the arcade.
Not that we know of, anyway.
No.
Going back to animals and sometimes reacting, here's a good one. Our manageress used to be there, who let us in originally in 2002 to investigate. She used to have Cocker Spaniels, and they heard a noise upstairs in the governor's quarters one night, and she thought somebody had broken in. Or she thought they used to have an artist up there. Maybe the artist was still up there. So she opened the door. The dog went running up and went running into one of the rooms. And then the dog suddenly sat down, wagging its tail like this, and then rolled over as if playing with somebody. All right. Now, that's unusual behavior for a dog. And it turns out the Governor Ashton, actually loved dogs. He had lots of dogs. In fact, in his painting, you'll see he's got a dog in his painting. So the dog was reacting to something in the room. That's different. That's not a dog just staring off into the corner of the room, because it might have heard in the distance. That is the dog reacting to something in the room. So again, there's no right or wrong answer to this, because there's lots of different cases. Which I didn't know was haunted. She was not comfortable. Hackles up, creeping around. Okay. Yeah.
David, haunted dolls.
Bree will get into the Tailem maybe next week. So hold your thoughts on the animals when it was Strathalbyn. Yep.
Haunted dolls.
I'm
not going to go there.
We can go there another week.
Yeah, we'll go there another week. Yes, let's do that one another week.
Let's keep some of the themes for another week, because we can do a haunted doll story. These are great stories, guys.
Yeah.
So, who wants to join in with this next week? Who's got an animal story that they would like to share here with us? As in, I don't mean just writing it up here. I mean actually coming on here, and it doesn't have to be long. You just have to tell your story. But at least it gives us a face, and we can all be interactive then. So we've been to Monte Cristo. Kirsty, it's a place I've never got to. We've been so busy going England, America, New Zealand, Tassie. Some places we've never got to here yet either. So yeah, Monte Cristo I'd like to do one day. Philip, he has one. You want to come on next week?
Maggie, there was no one electrocuted.
He was crushed. He wasn't electrocuted.
There was somebody who was crushed, and there was somebody that was gassed, but there was nobody electrocuted.
That was the beetle. Diane, we'd love to have you on. If you've got some stories, ghost stories or anything like that, experiences, just shoot me a message. Just kind of give us an overview of what you want to talk about, and then we'll try and get you on to talk about it. Have you been to the cage? No, Courtney, I was so tempted to buy. Courtney, I was almost tempted to buy the cage. All right. It wasn't the fact it was so small and on the road. I did toy with actually buying the cage. It has been sold now, though. So,
yeah, Maggie, that was little Sydney. He passed away with
gas poisoning.
So, yeah, he's buried in West Terrace Cemetery.
So's his mum.
Well, yes, he is, but her name's not on the headstone, though, is it?
No.
But at least they're
Kirsty.
buried together.
Yes, I used to research Kapunda I haven't been there for about 6 or 7 years now, but I used to research Kapunda. Done the hotel. We used to do it a lot. We were at the cemetery, St. John. I haven't been out of respect, obviously, because other people are doing it now. So, and we do try and respect each other. So I don't do Kapunda anymore. Got the creepiest. Not from the hotel. We found the hotel. For us, the hotel was very quiet. We went there several times. But St. John's was a bit different. Brilliant place. I have a dog story. Excellent. Jill, have a think about it. It'd be great to get you on here. Jill, you're on. You're on next week. Do not try and get out of it. We'd love to see you on here.
That'd be so cool.
We'll have you on because you're a honorary. If people don't know, Jill Child actually is my best friend from school that took us 40 years to find each other. Now we hang out and do investigations together whenever we go to England. Jill, you are an honorary member, so you can come on and join us, definitely. Don't you go chickening out now. Come on next week. Could the chook?
Oh, could the chook come on next week? I'll have a word with her. I'll see. I'll have words with her, see what she says.
The history is fascinating. So
Maggie wants to see Panda the Greyhound. Yes, maybe Panda will come on as well at some point.
In the hallway in the company. Oh, excellent, Adam. Best K2 response and best EVP. EVPs were always great up in Kapunda. Chook is possessed. Yes. So there'll be a lot of Chook jokes here. Tandoori, high priestess in waiting. Is it tandoori or teriyaki? For those who don't know, we do have a Patreon page, and I know I keep pushing this. You don't have to join. We do all this stuff here for nothing. But the Patreons, which there's a lot on at the moment, get their own page with us, very interactive page, and we do a lot of live feeds over there. What were we doing? We did a watch party, didn't we? So whenever I do a long version of the stuff you see, we do a bit of a watch party over on the Patreon subscriber page. We were doing that, and your husband didn't know we were on live, did he? So Tony was walking backwards and forwards behind Cag in the window there, putting the chook away. So he's like going like this with the chicken, thinking that we weren't on live. It's like, oh my God, we are on live at the moment, Tony. And it was just so funny. He was just doing all these silly things in the background. It was just, so that's why the chook jokes. She would be looking good. Yes, she would.
Okay, now Trina, if it wasn't put up on your write-up for the Adelaide Arcade, then we actually couldn't hear anything that was decent enough that we could say this was definitely an EVP. It's just on Sydney's anniversary. They thought they might have got an EVP.
Oh, okay.
Nothing was said. So if nothing was put up, that's probably because it wasn't.
Also, don't forget we have got a lot to go through yet. So we have 15 years of footage to go through, which now we are.
No, I think it's one that came back to me, and I listened out to him. So it's all good.
Okay.
Yeah, so sorry about that.
About it. I don't do the arcade so much now, so.
You haven't done the arcade for about 2 or 3 years.
Yes, Belinda. Highbury. Are you sure it's anything about a house in Highbury, Adelaide, has a child's coffin in the basement? Don't know of a house in Highbury, and I don't know about child's coffin that I know of. Are you happy to hang out, guys, or do you want us to? I don't want to keep people. So how about we do another 10 minutes and that's it. So we'll just open it up to questions. Most haunted, scariest place you've been to? My house I used to live in. Hang on. Let me just bring that one up again. There it is. But apart from that.
We've been to some.
We've been to a lot. Waverley, scared the bejeebers. You haven't been there. We're supposed to go there this year with
No.
Keg. Keg hasn't been there. I have. Kind of
We had it
privately.
booked.
Yep, had it privately investigated with me, Beth from Access Paranormal, and her friends. So there's just three of us in the whole building. I will say we got very little, although I just have found a few little things. I've got to put them up. But the whole place felt like it could. It was horrible. The other one that scared me was the Velisca. I'll see if I can find a photograph of Cags. The Velisca axe murder house. Yep. That's because I've just come out my full screen. That scared me. We didn't have anything happen, but it was very, very unnerving. Let me just see if I can find that for you while Cag talks to you. So
we haven't done the Clipper ship. The reason being is because it's a different company that runs those ones. So, like I said, we don't.
And again, we can't.
On.
We're very respectful if other people are doing places. We don't want to be stepping on tours. We have had a history tour of it, so
yeah, we have. For me, it's difficult. I think West Virginia would be really, really scary. It wasn't for the fact that we did have Paranormal Quest with us. When you've got two guys with you, you do feel a bit more protected. So normally say it's just Alison and myself. I think for me, the most scared I've been is probably the Randolph County Asylum. That was really kicking off when we were there. It was just Alison and myself, middle of nowhere. Yeah, that's the axe murderer house, and it's only quite a small place, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's quite a nice little neighbourhood as well. That house scared the bejeebus out of us, as in it was very, very uncomfortable in there. So
we have never ever left a place just into because of what was there. We've never walked off. We've never ran off. We've never left somewhere.
Kitchen. And that was the family who were murdered. It's very unnerving. For those who don't know the axe murder house, everybody knows about Lizzie Borden. But in 1912 in Velisca, a town called Velisca, this family here, there was two other children as well who were staying the night. But they believed that, and I don't know if I've got a picture. That's the mother and the two of the kids.
Well, Dan, we've actually done the Edinburgh vaults and things in Scotland.
Four of the victims there. So they're the four children that belong to the Moores, 4 young children. They were all axed to death. There was 2 other girls that were staying the night. So they believe, I'm just thinking if I've got the attic. No, I haven't. I thought I did have, but I haven't got any pictures of the attic. I have on a different file. But they believe the murderer hid out in the attic. The house was so small. The attic was actually almost an extension of the parents' bedroom. So they believe the murderer had been hiding in the attic. Parents went to bed. The kids went to their beds. 2 kids stayed the night because it was getting too late for them to go home. They'd been to some church ceremony that night. And then the murderer crept out and axed the whole family to death. And there was something very unnerving about having these photographs looking at you. These poor little kids. You know, you looked into these little kids' faces and their eyes, and it was very, very unnerving in that house. And to know the horror, it was only a small house, but to know the horror, I think that's what unnerved me most as a parent, to know the horror that went on in that little house was just, I don't know. That one scared me. Didn't have anything happen, but it did scare me.
No, for me, it's a Randolph County Asylum because we were left there middle of nowhere. We were given the police phone number because they could get to us quicker, and the pizza delivery phone number, and then we were left to it. And we were hearing knocks, bangs, doors, voices. from the moment we were there.
That one.
So that's it.
Yeah.
It's actually 4 levels as well. So you got the basement, you got 2 floors of oh yeah, that's the little one outside. 2 floors of rooms, and then you've got a massive loft or attic space.
Yeah, that was scary. I'm trying to see
we
if we can
slept
find
there.
a cage.
This is where I was woken up in the middle of the night with somebody shaking. Well, not in the middle of the night, early hours of the morning, with somebody shaking the settee I was sleeping on. There was actually nobody else in the building. It was just me.
I was sleeping in the car.
Well, you had a bad neck there, didn't you? So that's why you
No?
slept.
Yeah,
You had a bad neck, so.
I did. Whoop. So there you go. Actually, what we should do is we should come on and talk about. I can bring up these places on photographs, and we should talk about some of these places. How do we talk paranormal tales, and we should come on and talk about them.
Yeah, if you guys, if that's what you want, we should do. If that's what you guys want, if you just want us to come in and chat about different places, so you guys can come in and join in as well. But I think definitely next week, animals.
Maggie, yes, they were all murdered. I don't know if you've answered this already. I was looking at photographs. Yes, they were all murdered, every single one of them. So there was 6 children, and the 2 parents, they were murdered. And no, they never caught the murderer.
It was 4 children and 2 adults.
Well, no, there's the 2 other children. 4 of them were the Moises children.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Sorry.
There's 2 other children that were staying the night. So, could you give me the names of the places? What, the ones we've just talked about, or the ones we can talk about? But what we'll do, we can come on another time, just as not as a ghost cast. We can just come on, can't we, and just talk about some of the places we've investigated, open up some questions. I can show some you and I can come on, and Craig can interview us. Whoa, my hair.
Yeah, that's true.
We could get Craig on.
Alison is working really hard on going through the footage of all the different places we've been to, which is taking a long time because there's an awful lot of footage.
To edit the Jebra and it takes about a week to edit one video. So it does take a long time. We've done over 100. I think we worked out we've done over 100.
Joe, motive for the murders, but they never actually found out who did it. So they don't know what the motive was.
Nope. There's theories. There is a book. I've got the book. The theory was it was sexually motivated, because one of the girls might have been one of the older girls might have been sexually played with. There is a theory that it might have been a priest, not a priest. For that religion, I can't remember what you call it. It's not priest. Priests are with not vicars. I don't know. Religious person. I'm not into religion, guys, to tell you the truth. But he used to go from town to town, and there is a theory that it might have been him.
And actually, having read the book, it does point to him, doesn't it?
It does point to him. He didn't get tried for it. He was suspected. Nobody was caught for it. And that makes it even scarier, because some of the people who've had things happening here say that they have also had the murderer there. So whether the murderer felt guilty and comes drawn back to a place where such violence happened. There is another theory that it could have been a serial killer, because there was other similar killings around the country as well. So we'll never know. We'll never know. All I can say is it's a very small house. You sit in that house in the dark, and you see those photographs of those kids looking at you, and you think of the horror, the absolute horror of the night. I can't even begin. It's a different type of fear. It's not a fear of the ghosts. It's a different type of fear. So,
Maria Island, Tasmania, got to be done.
Oh yes, I keep meaning to get out there. I haven't managed to get out there yet. So
We spend too much time with Charmaine. That's the problem.
We do, from Tasmania's Most Haunted. So anyway, I suppose we were only coming. Paranormal Tale was going to be me coming on for about 5 minutes talking about a ghost story. Seems to have gone a bit longer.
Yeah, Mel, it's all about the Villisca house, Villisca axe murderers.
Yes. So look up Villisca. You'll get drawn into the history of it as well. It's.
I think it was Jenny came up with a good one. Our top 5 investigations.
Preacher, Damo, thank you. Damo's on YouTube, so he's watching it on YouTube. I was wondering why I wasn't getting YouTube, but I have. Damo, yes, preacher. Yeah, somebody, they travel around the country and
pastor, preacher.
Yeah. Thank you, Damo. It's been a long time since I looked at religion. Pastor, yeah. Mm-hmm. There you go. I say priest.
The fear of the cruelty of the humankind. That is so true.
Kirsty, that was scarier. Yeah. And it didn't help, did it? I want to see if I can get the guy on here. He did agree when we were there, didn't he? So I might actually get in touch with him, our guide, see if he'll come on and talk about Villisca. So let's keep the Villisca for another time. I've got a list of people to get in touch with, so I might actually swing him an email and see if we can get him on here. So, but he told us a story. Yeah, he told us one story. I wish he had told us.
No,
he wouldn't say and investigate. He said that he promised his family he never would, because he used to be the investigator there as well, because something did come home with him at one point. But he said he was in there. I think the cupboard was there. Let me see.
David, while she's just trying to find the picture, we have done with her court twice. Fantastic place. Love it. Got some great EVPs from there as well.
Yeah, I can't get it off, but there was one picture I showed of like a bed, and then there's a cupboard next to it. It's a big cupboard with some toys. And he had been in there with a friend. He'd taken his friend for the first time, a girlfriend of his in there. He put himself in the cupboard with the toys in the kids' bedroom where they were killed. And it was upstairs, and he said they were trying to get EVP and stuff like that. But then he said he suddenly heard a man's footsteps coming up the stairs. Now, at first he thought a teenager had broken into the house, and he thought, I'll scare him, because in America they carry guns, and he had his gun with him. And he thought, well, I'll scare him when he comes in the bedroom. We'll scare the crap out of this teenager. So he said he heard the footsteps coming up the stairs, heavy male footsteps. And then it came into the bedroom where he was, and he burst out the cupboard and screamed at the person with the gun drawn, and there was nobody there. And it said it was definite heavy. And if he thought about it more, he said it was like a fully grown man coming up the stairs. And then he left us. He left us with that thought.
Because he actually broke the door, didn't he? Kicking the door down. Because he was terrified.
Yeah.
Thank you, Toshi. That is how you. Thank you.
Johnny, yes, Johnny, Cousin, Kerry, whichever way you want to be called when you're on YouTube. Yes, well, I think Patreons, and again, I put a lot of stuff on Patreons if you're a subscriber. I think, Kerry, I did put up, tell me if I did or I didn't, but I did put up his little walk around the house with us. I think I put the full thing up. A minister, thank you, Damo, yes. Also known as a reverend. Thank you. Kerry is fine. I don't know whether you want to. I know you as Kerry, Cousin, like on YouTube. Yes, it was Villisca, town of Villisca. And the worst thing was we had no internet at all. We couldn't get any in the whole of the town of Villisca. So we had no phone reception. We couldn't phone anybody.
We actually couldn't get anything in the town of Villisca.
If anything went wrong, we had no contact with the outer world.
We couldn't get food. We couldn't get drink.
There you go. So
nothing.
Our subscribers, Rosemary said, yes, I did. Our subscribers do have the full walk around from Johnny actually taking us around. So obviously I throw everything up there. So they get to see a lot more. So there you go. If you're not a subscriber, $5 a month or $8 Australian, you get so much more. So much more. There you go, Reverend Potter. So Shane would know. All right. So much for our 5-minute broadcast. All right. The first one, we didn't know how it was going to go. Here's me thinking I'm just going to tell a spooky story, and then I get answering questions and we get chatting. We just love hanging out with you guys. So this isn't an official GHOSTCAST, but
yes, Jill, we're still here.
Yeah, we're going to go because I've got tea to have, and I'm in the middle of watching Britannia on Foxtel, so I need to go and see what's just happened because big things are afoot in that series. So I need to go and watch the last episode of the first season. Thank you all. Thank you for joining us. Let us know your thoughts on how you want this segment to go, whether you just want us to come up with a ghost story to start with, themed like a child's ghost story, a animal ghost story, we just play then.
Or just general chatting.
Or just general chatting. We're happy to come on a Tuesday night and just generally chat with you as well about anything paranormal. If you want to come on here with a ghost story, please PM me. Don't put it there. Just PM me with it. And we'll choose some of you to come on. You can come on here and you can chat with us as well, and we can interview you, and it doesn't have to be on. We'll put you on, pull you off, put another person on, pull you off. A bit like a caller, but on video. So I hope so.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy it. All right, we are going to let you enjoy the rest of your evening. You lot be safe, David. Thank you. Oh, thank you, David. Love South African. Stay safe. You lot stay safe as well. Hopefully this stupid world time that we're in, roll on 2021, basically. And we'll all look back at it as part of history, I guess, that we lived through, and some generations never will. So, all right. And we get back to normal. Okay, with that, good night. Thank you very much. I'm going to end the broadcast. Hopefully see you again soon. Okay.
Bye.
Oh, and all right, before I go, sorry, tomorrow night, live investigation, soul vigil from Z Ward. PM me any thoughts that you want me to do as well, because obviously we're doing the same old, same old. So if you've got any ideas for Z Ward tomorrow, I will be in Z Ward Asylum, all on my own, 7 o'clock, doing a live investigation with you all. Haunted Horizons. Okay. Good night. Bye.